AITA for refusing to support my wife through her diagnosis after her infidelity. My wife and I had a pretty normal marriage. No kids, both employed and really happy together. For 99% of our relationship we didn't have any major problems. We made time for each other, so on and so forth. She recently went away with her friend for a girls' trip. The first 2 days after she came back everything was fine, and on the third we went to dinner with this friend and her boyfriend. Dinner went well, came home and went to bed. Wife woke me up in the middle of the night crying, saying there was something she had to tell me. Long story short, she had cheated on me the entire trip and her friend had cheated on her boyfriend as well. Apparently the dinner together caused her to have an attack of conscience because she messaged my wife after I had fallen asleep telling her that she was going to come clean to her partner, and my wife had to tell me as well or she would. We talked, yelled, cried. I spent most of the night sick. Told me it was just a horribly stupid decision and was perfectly happy with me, which honestly makes it worse. Why risk a happy marriage for an affair? It wasn't my fault, the usual. I've been staying at my sister's place while we figure out the divorce. Before this went down she had been scheduled for tests and scans for what we thought were relatively non-serious health problems. Turns out we were wrong, as I was just contacted last week by her cousin telling me a scan revealed cancer. I got in touch with my wife and we talked. She proved her diagnosis and filled me in on some details. She was understandably terrified and begged me to come back, to talk to her, hug her, give her a chance, to be there with her. I told her I wished her all the best. I'm very sorry for what she's going through and know she's strong enough to make it through, but while I'd help financially from a distance, I wasn't physically going back. They, not her, have been harassing me, telling me to man up and go to her. My own friends are split 50-50. I don't want to go back. Before anyone pulls that this is probably why she cheated, card, no. We had a good marriage. We had a sit-down talk every month to discuss anything wrong. We were solid. She just chose to take a chance on a quick thrill, despite knowing cheating is a 100% deal breaker for me. She never even planned to tell me until her friend forced her. While I certainly don't think anyone deserves this, and I am sorry it happened to her, in my opinion her diagnosis doesn't change our situation. I feel it'll be harder on both of us with me being there knowing I won't forgive her when it's over. It feels like prolonging the inevitable, and I feel like my obligation to her ended when she chose to betray our marriage. She has family and friends, so she isn't alone. I care about the woman I thought I married, but I no longer love who she turned out to be, so I feel it'd be unfair to both of us for me to be there. I'm not trying to punish her, my heart just isn't in it anymore. Ida? Edit, to the Reddit detectives further down. When I said we talk every month about our problems, it doesn't mean we only talk once a month in strict time slots. We talked as often as needed, but made a point at least once a month to sit with each other and check in, see how we're feeling and so on. Secondly, I mentioned she proved her diagnosis because when I was told I didn't believe it, I figured it was a ploy to get me to come over and talk because she and her family had been trying to get me to reconsider from the moment I left. I also didn't want numerous answers to be filled with that exact same speculation. As far how she cheated the entire trip, the two of them went with the purpose of meeting up with two specific people her friend knew. And I figured this would be easy to figure out, but I guess not. I knew her friend forced her to tell me because I demanded to see their messages after she told me she cheated. Finally, I know a lot of people post made-up stories. I'm not one of those people, but short of providing personal details, I can't prove it. If I wanted karma, I wouldn't be on a throwaway. I posted here because when some of your own friends are telling you that you're unreasonable, I think it's time for neutral third-party judgment, and I was hoping for valuable insight, which many people provided. To the mods, I'm sorry this post wasn't a great fit here. I'll post in the appropriate subs in the future. Story 2. My wife told me she just cheated. My 29M wife, 33F, just told me she cheated on me. We have been together for nearly a decade, have 2 kids, and a house together. She is the primary breadwinner as I was diagnosed with a serious illness a few years ago. We have been arguing a bit lately, but I've been trying to make her happy. I am totally lost and don't know what to do. My heart is shattered. I love my wife more than I can explain. Update: this has happened 3 times. It started a month ago. This is just fucked up. Update: 2 more backstory. We talked for about 2 hours. I allegedly got every detail there is. I'm just heartbroken. This all started at the end of September. We took a trip without our kids, and it was supposed to be an anniversary trip for us. The entire trip she got very angry with me. We ended up having a huge argument and she spouted off a bunch of problems that we were having, who gets up with kids, certain things she wants to do, general life stress, etc. I took all of the issues to heart and I really have been trying to work on the things she said and make her happier. Apparently this started shortly after that blowout and has happened 3 separate times. She has been acting off despite my very best efforts to do what she needs, and I joked it was her boyfriend because I truly never thought she would do this to me. I spotted a light mark on her neck and asked her what it was and she said it was a pimple she messed with, but I was more insistent it looked like a hickey and I haven't sucked neck in a few weeks, wonder why, and she broke a few minutes later and told me. I left to sob at my brother's for a while and came back and asked all the questions I needed. She said she told me because she wanted it to stop and didn't want to lie to me anymore. She answered every one of my questions, and if she tried to dodge them I doubled down. She went to sleep in a different room. She also tried to hug me and apologize for everything a few times, but I pushed her off and told her to not touch me. I don't know what to do. I honestly and truly love her more than I could ever explain. I'm a moron, but I still do. I want this to work out, but there's no way going back from this. She said she doesn't know what to do to redeem herself from this, and I don't know either. I'm completely wrecked to the very fiber of my being and I don't know what to do. TLDR. Heartbroken and don't know how to proceed. Any advice helps. Thank you. Story 3. My 41M son, 19M, wants to be a part of my life again and I don't know if I should let him. Throwaway for privacy. My family situation is a bit difficult. My ex-wife and I have been together for many years. During these years our life was okay. It wasn't perfect, but good enough that we decided to have children. But she had been abusive towards me basically the entire time, but being the naive guy I thought it would be a normal thing and got used to it. This is important later. We had 2 children. My daughter, 21F, and my son, 19M. Over the years when we grew up our house started to get 2 different camps with totally different interests. It would be my daughter and me and my son and his mom. I always bonded better with my daughter than with him. We shared many interests. And the same applied to my son and his mother. He was an absolute mama's boy. These camps soon turned into rivalries that also caused huge arguments here and there, and not rarely my ex-wife got physical. Over the years I suppressed my own emotions because I knew that if I'd let them happen I'd probably end up leaving my wife, and I never wanted my children to grow up with their parents separated. I always thought to myself that since she never got physical when the children were there, they hopefully wouldn't get traumatized by it. And I took it for many years. But then something happened that went far beyond the borders. 3 years ago my daughter introduced her girlfriend to us and she officially came out as lesbian. My ex-wife and my son reacted so insanely hostile towards that I decided that I had enough. Incredibly homophobic comments, and my son once even slapped her. I filed for divorce and I moved with my daughter into our own home. I was financially stable to take care of her and I knew that she deserved a loving environment no matter what. Shortly afterwards, my son began to spread the rumor that my ex-wife filed for divorce because I allegedly cheated on her, and for some reason many people believed him except for my daughter and some really good friends. I felt hurt and betrayed. Every attempt of calling him and talking to him about this failed, and I decided to take the drastic step and disinherit him from my will as a consequence and go no contact, since he didn't want to talk to me anyway. He was still in his mother's will, so I thought he was fine. By doing this, I also cut the contact with my ex-wife. My daughter was surprisingly fine with this. I thought she would miss her brother and her mom more often, but she didn't. I saw how happy she was with her girlfriend, who visited us several times. And for 3 years we didn't heard from them. Fast forward to yesterday when I received a call from my son. He somehow found out my number. He said that he knows that he probably doesn't deserve the chance, but if he could come over to talk. I was still angry at him, but since he is my son, I decided to at least give him a chance to explain himself. When he came over, I noticed that he had bruises on his face. I sat him down on the couch when he started slowly apologizing. His face was completely without any emotion at first. And then all of a sudden he broke down crying, telling me how sorry he was and that he wants to be with me. He explained that when I left, she began to be abusive towards him too. She would often beat him and blame him for everything that happened. He said he is also sorry for the homophobic bullshit towards his sister and just wishes to hug her and apologize. BTW. She wasn't home at the time. He said that he did it because he was angry at me for allegedly tearing apart the family. That's what he thought all the time was the truth, but now he knows that it was wrong. I told him that I understand him when it comes to his mother because I was in a similar position, but I also need time to think about this and ask his sister first before I'm gonna do anything. He wiped the tears from his face and nodded. He then gave me his number and left. And now I am ambiguous. He is my son, but on the other hand he hurt and betrayed me really bad. What I have to do is to talk to my daughter about this. If she agrees to let her brother live with us, then I consider it. But only then. Edit. So many of you misunderstood what I said. You assumed I'd just let him stay with his abusive mom. No, I do not. That wasn't the question. Of course I'm going to help him getting out of there. The question is if I let him stay with us. I might be able to forgive him, but if my daughter says she feels unsafe with him around, I help him finding a different place to stay. And currently he stays with a friend, so he's safe. Back then he wanted to stay with his mom, and he was the one that initiated the no contact by not answering any of my calls and completely deleting me out of his life. And considering she never was physically abusive towards him or my daughter, I assumed she is able to control herself towards her children. And I truly thought it would be way less traumatizing if their parents would stay together, because I know what it's like growing up between separated parents. I only did what I thought was the best for them. And I know that I was wrong there. But calling me a horrible parent for not immediately reconciling and putting my daughter's concerns first isn't right either. I do want to help him no matter the outcome. He is still my son, but letting him stay with me is something that I simply have to talk through with my daughter.
Thank you for watching.